So, you want to hear about the old A-bomb? Drop a few caps in my cup. First, there's the atomic bombs that ended everything. But the A-bomb, the real one, began the day they say God made A-bomb out of piss, vinegar, and everything nice. Your mom and pop were miners, right here in the shadow of Mount Blair. I collect tapes from the old ones like your overseer in Vault 76. Well, copies really. I think I have one around about old A-bomb somewhere around. Oh wait, that's a set of mole rat tape. Here it is. You have something to play this in?
A bomb came to the doorstep of Vault 76 just a few days before that fateful day. A girl like a stout, harsh backwoods beer, aged 10 years. It was Vault Tech's official policy not to admit children that young without a parent or guardian, but she had all the official documentation. Asked her about her parents. Mother had died when she was 4. Father was Joseph Estes. I recognized the name from my father's time around other miners. This little girl simply said her father sent her ahead, but I knew from that look in her eyes, he was never coming. She wasn't like the other young girls in the vault, handsome, but manly, and the other children let her know that from the beginning. She was very quiet in the beginning, but stared down adversary at every turn. But I knew what loneliness looked like, and I saw it in that young girl's eyes. Few weeks after the bombs dropped, I was told by security they had to pull young Annabelle from a fight. I was expecting her to have lashed out at some girl, but in fact she had beaten 3 boys to a pulp. This became a routine, a few weeks of perfect behavior. She took her training and her classes very seriously. Then somebody would make a rude comment or gesture, and they'd end up with the medic, and she'd end up with security. One strange incident occurred when she and Jerry Tester got into a fight. By all accounts, it was a contest for the ages. Neither won, neither lost. But from then on he was there at her side. Well, rather 2 steps behind. He carried her books. He sat with her at lunch. I thought it was young romance at first, but realize now it was something darker. She no longer struck out at others, but somehow mysteriously they all seemed to find themselves in the medic, with no explanation. But I could see in Jerry's eyes what had happened. It was 9 years to the day when she began her training with security, right along Jerry. Her record was excellent, his was not. And a year later I found out why she never had any young romances with young men. Vault Tech policy prohibited this type of deviance. Her Suffolk interests became a problem, a black spot on an otherwise shining record. I was at a loss on how to handle it. Some in the vault wanted her stripped of her duties. Others were more sympathetic. She wasn't the first, and wouldn't be last. The terrible twosome had split following their security assignments, but I was surprised to see him speak up for her, the first to come to me. Others also told me it was just a phase, and by reclamation they should have found her a fellow, and all would be right in the world. In the end, her relationships were discreet and apparently very appreciated, and the fact she could take care of any security problem by herself allowed me to officially overlook her preferences. She was up in front on reclamation day, packed and ready to go before most were out of it. I'm sorry I went on ahead. She would have made a good traveling companion. It was a whole year before I saw her again, showing up at my doorstep in Sutton. She was no longer awkward, but battle-hardened and had taken charge in sending the Queen back to hell. I asked her to tell me what has gone on, and she started by pointing to my liquor cabinet and asking me if I was going to drink
be shit. So I wasn't too surprised when a metal spider tried to shoot me right in my ass. I thought the world had reclaimed itself. Some buildings were still left. There were trees and grass and fucking birds tweeting in my hair. I thought I saw some surviving farmers until they came right at me, rotting, diseased things, spewing nonsense. I guess I was lucky I wasn't some fucking ballerina. I stayed around in Floodwoods for a while to get my bearings, figure out what had happened after the bombs fell. Looks like some cops and some medics got it together, formed the responders. I fuck lot it did though. I knew I wasn't alone. Made a few I knew from the vault on the road to Morgantown. Haven't seen the likes of Sub, Jerry, or even that Freddie Matty. They had quite the operation in Morgantown, and a possible vaccine. Going south to the capital to see if we can figure this one out. A few weeks later and we had a vaccine, and I got to deal with some loud bitch in a tin can. Guess this Rosalind would have been real fun, if she wasn't a corpse programmed into a Miss Nanny. Say what you want about the cutthroats, but at least this David guy, pompous as he was, but he still understood what this world was about. All the raiders apparently fell too. 5 gangs. You can't split. That's how you die, in the mines, in this world, in life. Found the old house, or at least, what was left of it. The Garians, the Hornwrights, all they fought over, all gone, all a wasted effort. I went to Dad's old office. It was still standing in Beckley. Thought maybe there was something under the floorboard he used to hide my presence. My God, what did Hap do? He betrayed everyone. But for what? For me, all that, for one person? Calm down. Those tapes I found. He admitted everything. Said
this. I hope you are there, baby girl. Figured you'd remember our special password. The issue numbers of your favorite Grognik comics. If not, this is the final logs with Joseph Estes, former Hornwright Union Relations Coordinator, former Garian miner, former husband, maybe former father. Everything changed when I met her. My shining Cheryl. Shirley, sure, light in my dark mind. God Murray, and she gave me the best gift ever, a baby girl whom I loved from that first moment. When your mom died, you were just 4. My world was shattered and I swore, I'd make the Garians pay, the Hornwrights pay. We were all going to bring them down to their knees, miners, united once and forever. As the years rolled on, I knew our efforts were for nothing. Sooner or later, we'd all be replaced by robots and every miner would be out of a job. It was then that Hornwright approached me. The vaults had just been announced. I could have a comfortable living, and if, God forbid, a spot in a vault for me and my precious daughter. Soon I was on the other side of the table, telling my former friends they were in a losing battle. I had traded in my loyalty for a suit and tie. I made my bed with the devil and I had to simply lay down. A few weeks ago, I decided enough was enough. All of West Virginia was to become like Canada. We would no longer have jobs, no longer have a vote, and be ground down into the dirt to die. My meeting with Sam Blackwell was a failure. The government knows it was him, knows it was me. It's only a matter of days before they find me. I sent you on ahead to the vault. Hopefully, they can protect you.
there were many miners who talked about the Free States movement. Did shrugged it off as a bunch of rednecks with guns and too much moonshine, but apparently, they were right all along. Shadow governments, plots, and Washington was the hurt. Those assholes betrayed everything, and not just West Virginia. Apparently some elite special forces were right in the middle of it all. This last tighter D sounded like one tough bitch, but apparently everybody becomes an asshole in the end. There is a plan on the table, in the works, and this ain't just the whiskey talking. A bunch of us have been going over it, and it's fucking nuts. As if he was here all along. Jerry just walks into my camp, looking like, well, after our big fight when we were kids. But he was carrying enough firepower to take on the government, the overseer, that chemistry teacher I had when I was 14, and the interworld. Jerry told me we should just take it all. The raiders, cutthroats, diehards, Brotherhood of Steel, though way too small. The world is ours, he says. It was all for Jerry's plans until I finally made a cute little number I remembered from the vault. Some good lovin' I'd buy a few chums got me thinking right again. Somehow I was a leader, or at least, a recruiter, trying to get everybody on board with dealing with this problem once and for all. Took a deep breath and stumbled into a camp, and there, with that shit-eating grin was So. I wasn't sure if I wanted to fuck him, kiss him, or beat the shit out of him. The memories came floating back, all the times I got drunk, off his still. He tried to hook up with me. First person I told that I preferred girls, and he just said we were great friends because of our common interests. We didn't say anything, but he had a few beers sitting around. We just drank. First time I've gotten to relax in weeks, maybe months. Think I needed that more than 6. Got Sub on board. I got Jerry on board. Bunch of others. Now to find this queen and make her my bitch, or die trying. The battle was rough. That cute little number ain't so cute anymore. Seb's blind in his right eye and I'm surprised I didn't lose something. But we faced it, and now, what's next? Week, maybe 2, later, I was working on Jerry's power armor, and I just realized all the anger I had towards my dad was gone, just disappeared somewhere between Sutton and Woodtug.
By the time she had finished her story, she was surrounded by an army of empty bottles. There goes my year's supply of whiskey. She figured we were all victims, really. A vault tech. I was the experiment. She was the experiment. We all were the experiment. She had made a name for herself. Everybody was calling her a bomb. I still called her Annabelle. Cool, confident, still lonely. But she told me it was my time to nut up, hitch my tits, put it into motion, and if I couldn't lead, then let us, her, lead. People were coming back into West Virginia. But, that's another story.